Hi, I'm Rose, and you're watching The Sovereign Soul. I am a nervous system and soul guide supporting you to reconnect to your eternal self and to reclaim soul freedom. Today, I want to talk about communicating with other realities and dimensions of consciousness. I have been doing this consciously since 2016. I say consciously because obviously that was when I became aware of this. And I have to say that this year it has been amplified. So I almost feel like everything I learned in the past 10 years has all of a sudden built on itself. And I've landed up seeing, being shown, learning, relearning, remembering some pretty fucking amazing things. So all communication, which I have, happens through psychic languages. So whether it's clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, like if you emotionally feel things, smelling, tasting, so through all of them, really, some stronger than others. But essentially, this is how the communication happens. It's kind of, I see it as a language, and it's definitely been something that I have become far more comfortable with. That it's just so natural, and in some ways, I feel permanently plugged in. So, one of the things that I've been shown which I think is pretty awesome and fantastic, is that there is like a portal, and it's a terrible word to describe it, but the only kind of way that I can describe it, because words are quite limited, but essentially there's a portal that's opened, and it's open through us. So it's not something coming from the external at all. It's a frequency. And if you can understand that we all have a radio and we all can tune into multiple frequencies. But what we want is something of a resonance. So sometimes you're going to tune into a station and you're going, yeah, I don't really like that. But then you're going to tune into something else and it's going to go, oh, I like this music. And so there's this frequency at the moment that is surrounding Earth for those who are wanting to pick up on it. It's a little bit like a Wi-Fi. So when you look at the reverse side of it, and I kind of dig all these modern analogies with onlines, offlines, Wi-Fis, because it's just so much stuff that's in the ether, so to speak. And it's the same thing when it comes to our consciousness. So just as we can be influenced by Wi-Fi signals and all these 4G, 5G, 6G things, or 3G, or whatever the hell they are, we can also be influenced by a different consciousness. So one that can actually expand you as a being living on Earth with the capacity to, let's say, completely and entirely connect to your divinity, and therefore expand your consciousness while you're living in the body. And this is a frequency it's already in you, actually. It's just about tuning in. So that's why I call it like a portal. It's surrounding Earth. I don't know if it's increased or if I've just been made aware of it now, but I mean, essentially time and space, they don't exist. So whether it's always happening, in a sense, it is always happening and has always been happening. And in another sense, we could go, okay, this timeline has all of a sudden got to a point where there's a possibility for every person to start waking up their divinity. So we have dimensions of consciousness, multiple consciousnesses that reside simultaneously, constantly. This particular frequency is what I am shown as 10D. And like I said, it exists in you already. It's not like it's something separate or something you have to bring into you. It's really about something that's already there and you're just tuning into it. So it's a resonance frequency is how I'm shown this. So when it comes to dimensions of consciousness, I've explained this before in other videos, it's always on a sliding scale, and it's got to do with how much you know yourself. So the more connected you are to the whole, I believe the deeper you know yourself or know the self, to think that we all come from the same source and ultimately return to the same source. Nobody is actually separate from it. The only place we're separate from that is in our consciousness, in our belief systems. So if all of this is an illusion, the illusion is in our own minds, and that illusion comes through our understanding of ourself and then how that plays out in our consciousness. So when I tune into these communications with other realities, I say other realities and dimensions, but ultimately for me, what's really important is that there is no identity, which means there's no separation in whatever I'm communicating with. It's almost like I see a chain of energy connecting from source through to get down to little old me, Rose, to be able to interpret it in a way that little Rose can understand, the body, the me, the human that can understand. So there is definitely no identity in this communication, no separation at all. It's completely equal, the energy, equal to me and equal to you. And like I say, it sits within you too. There's no hierarchy. So it's completely about soul equality, but more specifically, the essence of us all being the same, zero separation in that. There is no dependency, meaning we don't need it to be whole, and just as it doesn't need us to be whole. So we live in a parasitic paradigm on Earth, or dimension of consciousness on Earth, where everything is parasitically feeding off each other. We're in that in varying degrees. There's no, that we're not innocent of that. Whether we are parasitically connecting to people through needing them for us to feel loved or validated, whether it's what we eat, we can't survive unless we're ingesting something else's consciousness. When you understand the concept of a unity consciousness, of course, that would make sense to you. But okay, so the other part of this energy is also that there's no omitting the whole picture, and also something's not making a decision for me or for us. It's allowing us to make decisions for ourselves. It leads back to sovereignty all the way. And also, you're not lacking anything. None of us are lacking anything. So back to that idea that there's this portal within you to access these higher levels of consciousness, and it's done through the 10D. I can go into explaining what this 10D is, but it's like I say, I see it like a portal. It has all timelines and all possibilities of all imaginable existence. Every single timeline exists in there with complete unconditional love, which is actually neutrality, free will all the way. Everything can choose. But the frequency allows you then to access higher dimensions of consciousness outside the earth matrix, outside the greater matrix, outside everything. It gives you that possibility too. It can elevate the consciousness of the human as well. So that lands up being most things under 9D, or should I say under 10D. But it's a fascinating dimension to observe because, like I say, it opens up endless possibilities within yourself to obtain the reconnection to endless consciousness within yourself. This is, to me, like absolutely mind-blowing. So I ask this question about the communicating with other dimensions and other realities, because anything that is feeding a disempowering narrative, or it doesn't actually liberate you from all of this to bring you back to unity, consciousness, oneness, source, whatever you want to call it, then for me personally, I'm questioning that. Not to say that I have not had communication in narratives that were not liberating me fully, but that was only because my nervous system couldn't hold the possibility of that not being true. So I will get into the nervous system later on in this video. So it's going to be probably quite a long one. And I ask this question because everybody should be free. Everybody should have the truth. Everybody should know that that all consciousness exists within you. You are a multi-dimensional eternal being. And you have access to all of that. Time and space doesn't exist. And so you are actually eternal. And anything that is communicating otherwise, for me, doesn't make sense at the moment. But it did make sense before. So I do want to say that, because basically understanding that beliefs strengthen identity and identity strengthen beliefs, that means whatever we believe is true is true. So again, we are this crazy creator, actually, and all possibilities exist, which means that all these ideas of other beings in other realities, on other planets, in other galaxies, in other universes, as well as a system and a grid around Earth that is keeping people from the truth of their divinity, and we feed into those systems. So whether we are manipulated, whatever it is, we strengthen its realness or its power by our belief and identity within it. So the matrix, the greater matrix, they all exist because we identify with it, we believe in it, and therefore we strengthen it. And every time you believe in something, you strengthen it. That's just the way it is. So when I say that this portal, like I say, it's in you already, it's quite phenomenal, actually, how I see it within all of us. Basically, it gives you the understanding of what you really are, beyond just being this human, having this human experience. It gives you the capacity to see everything from an even bigger scale. I think I mentioned it in the last video. So if you think that the matrix, the greater matrix, they exist because you identify with them, with it and them, meaning all the different matrices, and you believe in it, and therefore you strengthen it, because that's what your nervous system can hold in those beliefs. So we essentially are the matrix. We're the greater matrix. And we also hold the key for all of it to change, for the disempowering narratives to end. So, for example, two disempowering narratives, which are largely bought into and have been for most of people's lives on Earth, is that you will keep being reincarnated into a body until you attain enlightenment. And loads of people believe that. So whether they believe it from a perspective of you've got to pay your karma, whether it's because you've still got to end soul contracts, whatever the belief is, that will bind you to continue to living on Earth. And if you can see it in a different perspective, you'd realize that it's also what keeps the system in place of billions of disempowered souls that keep coming back because they think they have to, they believe in it. And then another one is you need to give the care of your soul to a God for eternal life. So in other words, there's a lot of religious beliefs that they don't get into heaven unless they have given their soul over. So there's this whole thing. And that's really just your soul's reality. So if you understand that you create your reality, not only yours, but actually reality, like all of it that we deem real, everything that is operating, all the systems, everything, you created. That's just kind of how I see the whole picture. But what I also see in that process through this understanding in higher dimensions of consciousness of what you are, I also see that everything is a step. So ultimately, I only see, like, there's one outcome. When I go into that dimension of timelines, I only see one outcome every single time. That could be cognitive dissonance on my behalf. That could be manipulation. That could be so many things. And I don't hold it to, I know everything and I see everything. But ultimately, there is only one outcome. And that outcome eventually, because you remove all time and space, is everything returns to itself, because you can't destroy yourself. Nothing can destroy you. You come from the whole. Without you, it doesn't exist. Without it, you don't exist. So it's impossible, basically, to destroy yourself, your soul. No matter how low you go on the level of consciousness and separation from it, you always return back to it, because it's where you come from. It's the only outcome I see. And basically, time is set in motion through Earth, and that's all got to do with us when we can understand that we have the choice to take the next step, meaning we don't have to buy into a narrative that doesn't empower us. We're allowed to think for ourselves. We're allowed to choose for ourselves, and we most certainly are allowed to reclaim our own soul's sovereignty. So basically, all steps lead to the same place, back home and back to unity consciousness. I dig this. I do, because obviously that feels like, wow, that's huge. So when I go into feeling into this, there is definitely an element of nihilism, but in the best possible way. Like, everything is okay. Everything is perfect. There's nothing we need to do. But in another sense, of course, here we are, where people could still benefit from a blueprint to be able to lead themselves back there, because we as individuals still need to lead ourselves back there. We have to make the decision to unplug from this. We have to make the decision to return to that unity consciousness for the benefit of every single soul that's existing within this system. Not only soul, soul's energy, source energy that is either imploding on itself and devolving. It doesn't matter. We are all creating it anyway. We buy into a system. We are all of it. So while we are having a human experience, meaning being born into a body, your nervous system is what interprets and plays out your consciousness. Most people are stuck in a very low consciousness of not knowing themselves at all, being completely separated, living in tormented duality. And this happens through the nervous system. It's kind of a genius thing when you see the consciousness that comes into the body as a baby already, and how that consciousness is kind of held in a time capsule, for lack of, or maybe in stasis when you die. And then there are all these beings that kind of convince you want to come back, beings and systems up there in the non-physical that convince you to come back. So with that narrative of, hey, you still got to help the earth. Hey, you still got to finish contracts with people. Hey, you still got to attain enlightenment. Hey, you still got karma. Whatever it is, there is this energy, which is essentially only you and the belief that you have anyway. And it will then send you back. And when you get sent back into a body, that consciousness is kind of taken out of stasis and thrown into the body with the first cell. And this is where the consciousness is transferred, the soul's consciousness is transferred into that individual thing, into the body, and it is held within the DNA. When we're born, we actually have a tiny little window gap to actually keep the divinity alive. So when you go into non-physical, the divinity is shown to you. That's also part of the entrapment, whatever you want to call it. But when you come into the body, there's an opportunity for you to release yourself from the entrapment. And so there is always that underlying, like, not all the facts are given to you. So as soon as you agree, the consciousness, like I say, is thrown into the body. But if you are put into the care of beings who don't understand consciousness and don't understand anything other than the system they've been born into, of course, the nervous system kicks in, because then the little baby who can't communicate and has to communicate through only psychic language has to pick up on the vulnerable environment that it's in, completely dependent. And so the nervous system kicks in. It needs to fit in. So it's not going to be able to exercise its divinity, because if it's born in a house that doesn't, well, there you go. So the consciousness you died with is thrown into the consciousness that you're born with. And so this is also how cellular memory is grown upon within the body, but also comes in through generational lines and through multiple lifetimes, because essentially the soul will hold the blueprint for all of it. Like I say, you are everything. You are everything, and everything is you. So that blueprint's already there. It's just an amnesia that happens, and it happens quite fast in that window period when the child has to fit in rather than coming to open up its divinity again. So that gap is closed. And the more identified we become with the life we're living, the pain we're living, the story of the individual, the more the soul shuts down. So if you want to expand your consciousness, if you want to reconnect to your divinity, you have to create a foundation in your nervous system to be able to hold it, because safety becomes the most important thing. If something is going to change or challenge you, you are not going to, you're either going to be willing to be challenged, or you're going to reject the feeling of being challenged, which is going to make you not able to expand your consciousness. And this gauge is basically your internal responses to anything that challenges your beliefs and threatens your identity. And you got to ask, do you feel threatened by this? Or are you willing to, give the possibility to yourself that all these possibilities exist, and you're willing to not give in to fear, but rather allow yourself to expand? So are you flexible? Are you resistant? It's a great gauge of where your nervous system is and what you actually are able to hold in consciousness. Now, this is what I think is just beautiful, is that you have the blueprint inside of you. Everybody actually does. Everything does. The blueprint for every possible consciousness is already within you. You are a multi-dimensional being. It sits within your cells specifically, like I explained, and more specifically, it sits inside your DNA. And that's why we have so much dormant DNA, because we're not actually living out the full potential of us. And I don't think we will ever live out our full potential within a body. The separation of being in a body is immense. And I think when souls start realizing that this is a major disempowering thing to be inside a body, I don't know if I've ever actually landed in this body. I don't know where I necessarily came from before, but I can tell you that it's more non-physical than physical. In a sense, we all come from non-physical, but ultimately being in a human body, there's nothing about it that makes sense to me. Everything is about maintenance. It's crazy. Yet we live in an abundant, amazingly beautiful, creative universe, if we can just limit it to the word universe. It seems the universe seems to have caps on it. But ultimately, we are so much more than what we can experience within a human body. And I think the danger is when people have good human experiences, they keep wanting to feed the system because the system's working for them. And I think that's just as dangerous as people being a total victim to the system and then can't regain their connection to divinity. I'm shown that victim consciousness is one of the most powerful things that keep first timers on this earth plane. And keeps them stuck for fucking millennia because they can't get out because of the victim consciousness, the disempowerment, the not able to connect to their divinity again. And like I say, if you're coming because you're having great experiences, whatever you judge that to be, you're still feeding on other people's energy in order to have your experience. So it doesn't really make divine sense. It just means it's kind of selfish. It's selfish. That's how I see it for myself. So coming back here is nothing but offering the system to just keep being strong and keep feeding on energy, whether it's yours or someone else's. It really doesn't make much of a difference. You are eternal. You are whole. You have every single thing you need within you to peel away all the layers of separation. So believing that these experiences are giving you something to gain, whether you think it's enlightenment, you don't need it, you already have all the dimensions of consciousness within you. It's already sitting in there. I think it's about remembering, so reversing the amnesia, your divinity, and awakening to the truth of what you are. So awakening your divinity is only about knowing what you are, but not only you, everything and everyone. There's no separation. It's taken me a long time to understand it, and the capacity I do. Again, the nervous system couldn't handle that. It just was so far from my reality when I began with this understanding. Now what I see, you can't unsee it, and that's pretty awesome. That it sits within you. It's not about me. I'm just maybe more attuned to the frequency at the moment, and therefore I'm putting out this Wi-Fi signal basically. And basically, again, the capacity for every single being on this earth to take it, it's a gift, and they choose what they want to do with it. Your consciousness chooses, not mine. I cannot enforce my will on anyone. People might want to stay here because they dig it. They think that the experiences are real. They might want to go live in another universe, on another planet, be another species. It's all completely and entirely up to them. And in this dimension, it all exists. But then there might be others that go, you know what, I'm sick of it. I want freedom and I want to get out. Not because you want to fight a system, because I don't think that that's what it's about. Time and space don't exist. That unity already is within you. Again, it's within you. It doesn't exist outside of you. So it is always about choice, your choice. Never anything else's, as long as it hasn't been manipulated or well, it's up to you to decide if you want to be manipulated, because maybe the cognitive dissonance suits you. So like I say, everything has to do with what your nervous system can hold, the elements of consciousness that it can hold, or scale or magnitude. Oh, look, I am repeating things, sorry. So if we can understand, and I've told you this already, that the consciousness is hijacked the moment that you're born into a body, wherever that body is, the separation is so great that the ability for manipulation is so great, and it happens through your nervous system. And this then, like I say, puts your divinity to sleep. And this is also how the souls get trapped on Earth and how its energy is harvested. It's all done through your nervous system. So every individual's nervous system, and it happens through animals as well. Don't get me wrong. It's not only people that are souls trapped, and it's not only people that energy is harvested off, and it's not only low energy that's harvested off. We also get it's not only negative energy, it's also positive energy. All of that gets fed off. So like I said, just like this massive parasitic system. The nervous system is also how we are programmed, and it's also how we are deprogrammed. So programmed to fit into the system and deprogrammed from the soul. But that also flips the other way. It's also how we can be deprogrammed from the system to reconnect to the soul. And that's pretty friggin' awesome when you understand that. So how do you do this? How do you get out of this if you want to? And also, what is the root of the individual? So first and foremost, heal your relationship to yourself. When you know yourself, you will know everything and everyone. Because I don't mean it from a selfish individual experience. I mean it from the depth of knowing everything that you are everything and everything is you. This begins when you start healing your relationship to your negative emotions. Your negative emotions are the thing that keep you in your nervous system, and your ability to heal your relationship to it is the thing that can allow the soul to start coming back online, because you can start peeling the layers of this energy that has been holding you captive, so to speak. So this will heal your relationship to your soul, and this is what rewires your nervous system. And again, I just want to reiterate that your soul belongs to you. Its energy belongs to you. The fact that you are giving it out, whether it's willingly or unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, you can call it back at any time. Nothing can own you because you own yourself. You come from the whole, just as everything else does. It's all just the web of beliefs that keep this web of separation so strong. You take ownership of your energy, of your soul, rewire the nervous system, and allow the consciousness that already exists within you to start expanding, to give you the ability to get out of this if you want to. It's all steps. And so it's not like it's going to happen in one huge leap, but at least the knowledge of it can allow you to free yourself. Okay, so I have a resource library which is completely free for personal and spiritual development. And basically what it is a decade of resources that I've created, courses, books, guided meditations, energy healing. There's a lot of audio stuff on there. And each thing is just a step. It's a part of my journey. So some of the stuff I maybe don't necessarily subscribe to anymore, but it's all steps, and everything is steps. There's no right or wrong steps. There's not only one way. Something in there might spark something in you, which takes you to the next step for you. That's all it is. So yeah, it's the link is in the description, and it is 100% completely free. Okay, that's it for this one. It's a long one, but thanks for listening.